Howdy folks, Little John, and another version of the whiskey jar. Today doing a little bit of tasting on the latest happening here at Little John's, and that is a couple of versions of Drambuie. For those who aren't sure what Drambuie is, it's a Scotch liqueur, more specifically a whisky liqueur, made traditionally with a Scotch whisky base. I've just got my little bottle here to try. How well that's going to show up. Generally comes in a bigger bottle. I've drunk Drambuie since I was a young fella. When I say young, I don't mean a schoolboy, but always enjoyed a nice Drambuie on ice whilst drinking bourbon and coke, as in my late teens and early 20s, and I've just continued on since then. I said back in the days when I used to, drunk copious quantities of bourbon and cola. Certainly didn't mind sitting down with a nice Drambuie on ice, or even a Drambuie with a nice cup of coffee. As I said, it's a Scotch whisky. It's got some herbs and things infused into it. It's like a sweetened whisky, but a little more flavour going on. So, given that Drambuie costs in excess of $60 a bottle, even when it's on special, it's not something I'm certainly not rushing out to buy a lot of it with what I do drink. And I was playing around. I had a few litres of neutral sitting here from the tomato paste wash trials, which I was using. I use some for base for some rums and other things, which are back on other videos. I was flipping around and I thought, there's sort of a couple of essences for Drambuie. I thought, we'll give it a crack and see how it goes. So what I did was I purchased a couple of options. Now, this is what I've come up with. Distilled Spirits, top shelf. It's just called Spice Whisky Liqueur. That teams up with the liqueur base, the sugar base, and goes in with the neutral, so instead with the TPW, the old tomato paste wash. And the other one I found was this fella, the Samuel Willard's, which is just says Whisky Drambuie Style Liqueur Essence. It's an express premix. So I thought we'll give that one a whirl as well. Now, price-wise, the top shelf was somewhere in the vicinity. It was around they were around $7 a bottle. And then obviously you got postage on top if you're buying them individually. I think I paid about $13 for this fella on his own. Actually no, I think it was about $17, and that included the liquor base. So about $7 for that. It's showing $4 retail on the spirit, so somewhere around $6 for postage. And the Samuel Willard's, I think by memory, was somewhere around that same sort of mark. A little bit more again with delivery, but I think it was around $13 full price. Again, I could be wrong though. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. Either way, it worked out. They were fairly similar in price, and both make up 1125 mils, or what is the old style bar bottle. Now, given that I haven't got a bar bottle here, I played around. I didn't really want to make up massive amounts of this stuff, and I also wanted to play a little bit with the base. So I've made 3 half-strength mixes, or thereabouts. If anything, they're probably a little bit beyond half volume total, so they're probably touching down a little bit on flavour. So what I've done, going from my left to right, neutral, TPW, cut back to 40% as per the instructions, and then mixed with the Samuel Willards, and that's in there. And now this has come up considerably darker than the still spirits. And you can sort of have an indication there of the difference in the colour. Anyway, second bottle here is again tomato paste wash, cut to 40%, and then mixed with the still spirits. So you basically add your sugar mix and your liquor and your essence to the mix and give it a good old shake. And now, just for an interesting comparison, I've mixed up a batch on my malt whiskey. So this is actually mixed together my single grain whiskey and the whiskey that was, the scotch that was made on with the beer base. And again, there's a video back on that, I believe. I'll link it up if there is. And then using the still spirits, again still using the sugar base and the essence. So proper Scotch whiskey base with the essence on top, just to see what difference that makes to the intensity of the flavours, and also to bring out the neutral option. And last but not least, obviously we need some sort of true comparison, so we'll go for a wee dram of the real deal. So colour wise, it's a bit hard to tell in the glass with the stones, but it's all 3 mixes are considerably darker than the real thing. And again, as I said, the neutral has been cut back, and so it should have been, for half, it should have been about 660, no, not 600, 562 mil. It's probably come out more like about 630. So it's, if anything, it should even be a little bit lighter, but it's not. So that's the first real obvious thing. As I said, that Samuel Willards is ridiculously dark compared to the others. Now, they've all been mixed correctly. I was very careful to make sure they were mixed correctly. Now, this is the real deal, the real Drambuie. And it's got that nice sweet caramel notes. And it's quite different to the mixes. It's similar. The herb note, like the herb and the spice notes, are very similar, but there's a very heavy sweetness even on the nose, like very strong butterscotch, caramelly, toffee type notes. Very, very, if you can smell sweet, when you think of that sweet smells, that's heavily loaded with that. But the real thing, it's gentle, and there's still a little bit of note from the scotch underneath. Or the whiskey underneath. But this really isn't showing that whiskey character. See a little bit as it's breathing a little bit, the whiskey character is coming through a little bit more. And that's Samuel Willard's it's almost picking up a dark brownish sugar type of note as well. It's still got the same underlying notes, but there's something a little bit extra there, which obviously I think would be whatever's contributing to the darker colour. So let's have a bit of a taste. Now I'm not really sure where I should be starting here. I don't know whether to start with the Drambuie and go backwards, or try the others and then come to the end. We'll start through here. I'm going to start with the still spirits on neutral. I've got to say off the bat, that's quite nice. It's probably a little too sweet, but it's got nice tones. You get that initial caramel and that sweet sugary butterscotch flavour. There's a good hit of the whiskey there, or the whiskey type flavour. Even though it's a neutral, there's still some hint of the whiskey flavour there. But just going off memory of Drambuie, that actually real taste, it is a little sweet. And you probably wouldn't want to be drinking huge amounts of it would probably not be real easy. But these other glasses are quite nice. Okay, so we'll skip along to the Samuel Willard's. As I said, this is quite darker. It's got more of a heavier sugar tone to the nose. And the taste, the taste just continues with what it smells like. It's just way sweeter. Too sweet, way too sweet. I mean, this still spirits is pushing the level of sweetness. That's just going way too high now. Yeah, and there's an underlying flavour there. It's not real nice. That might be, I actually think that could be interesting to cut back to even half that strength that it's been mixed at. And see where it goes. Obviously I'm not going to do that right now. Because I don't think the flavour's wrong, it's just too strong at that mix, and it's definitely been mixed to the right amount. Yeah, makes 1125 mils, the whole bottle. It's a 700 ml bottle, which is mostly full, so it's definitely mixed at the right level. So too strong, definitely not in contention at the moment. there's this still spirits made on the whiskey base. Now, I will say this is not the greatest whiskey ever made. It's not a bad whiskey. It's not a great whiskey. It's coming on. I tasted it a week or two ago. It's coming along nicely. Ooh, that works pretty good. I was really interested to see how it would go with the whiskey base, with given that the essence is not allowing for that and is looking to bring that flavour in. It actually tones down that sweetness. I think we're here with the neutral. The sweetness of the essence is just there, that's just running amok, just doing its own thing. But I think with that whiskey sitting in there, with its own flavour and its own depth there, it's really toning down that sweetness of the essence. The essence is still there and the sweetness is there, but it's got more of that. It's got more of the spirit. The whiskey base is there. It's more flavoured. It's definitely more noticeable. Now, back home to Drambuie just at the moment. At the moment, with this mix, the still spirits are a clear winner over the Samuel Willards. As for which one of these is better, the whiskey base or the neutral base, that would be a matter of personal preference. Now, for someone who's really into something a bit sweeter and without so much alcohol bite, the neutral is really a nice. It's going to be right up your alley. If you are looking for something a little bit meatier, a little bit more, more spirit based, then that's more you go. And I will say, for an essence, I'm reasonably impressed with those. They've got a nice body. They're nice and they've got the thickness. All three have got the thickness that you're sort of expecting. If anything, it's possibly a little bit too thick. And I did cut back the actual sugar a little bit, probably by about. When you meant to use that whole bag, the 1125 mils. There's not a real lot left, but it's probably 15% under on the mixes. So if that was done fully, it would be a little bit heavier, and that would make it a little bit sweeter as well. So I think holding back has certainly helped. And again, I said these volumes are a little bit out, so realistically, if these were cut to their proper measurements, I think these would be too sweet. Going off the taste on these, I would say you could probably push these out to even 1.5 litres from the mix instead of 1125 mil, and get a nice product somewhere in that good range. But to testers, how do they go against the real deal? Well, let's see. Okay. That's good stuff. Right. Now, first thing, that is considerably let's say nicer than these. The initial sweetness is probably quite similar to these, to the still spirits. So they're similar to too sweet. And the flavour is quite similar. So yes, from that point, the still spirits have really knocked that reasonably well. But where this really, the real deal becomes into its own, is that spirit underneath is very obvious. You know, you can still taste that you've got a scotch in there. It's got some, there's still some burn. There's no burn in either of these. Now it's not a big burn. It's not, you know, ripping down your throat or, you know, grabbing across your tongue. But it comes on as it flows from the front of the mouth down the throat. You feel the vapours and the heat that's there. It's very pleasant. It works really not. And yeah, anyone who's ever drunk Drambuie, knows what I'm talking. Understand what I'm talking about. The sweetness that flows through and it just slowly changes from sweet. The spices come through and some nice vanilla, and then that warmth of the alcohol and the scotch fills your mouth at the end and finishes it off. And then the very last thing you get is just that final suck of sweetness down your throat just to finish it. It's a very multi-layered drink. You're getting a lot of things going on in your mouth. These are, they're not one-dimensional, but they're not carrying that same level through on the drink. That Scotch base is running quite nicely. It does have some more of that alcohol heat, but not as much. It's just a little bit off. And the neutral, in all honesty, it's just, spirit-wise, it's just too smooth. Now, they always watch videos. No, that's a neutral. That's a tomato paste wash made on a pot still. So it's not like it's been churned out, triple distilled through a bloody reflux. It's one run straight through the pot. I think it's 54%. So it's not super, I mean, it hasn't been made super clean. It should have some go about it, but that's how clean, it's a testament to tomato paste wash to a degree, just how clean it is, that you aren't picking up that alcohol heat. Look. Okay, so let's just wrap it up very quickly. Raved on for long enough. If you want to make yourself some Drambuie, a neutral with distilled spirits is getting you a decent drop. Going to impress most people. They're going to be quite happily drinking. If you're not someone who drinks Drambuie all the time, you're not going to really know too much difference. So the Samuel Willers, I think, if it was cut back with some more neutral in it at a lower level, which I'll play around with, I think it will get reasonably close. But the flavour, I think, essentially is not quite right. But I do reserve judgment a little bit. As I said, if you want to keep it cheap, go your neutral. You're knocking this stuff out for what? Probably 20, around 20 bucks a bottle, and less, depending on what quantity you're making your neutral in. Could be anywhere between $15 and $22 a bottle, which is a third of the price or better. It's definitely more than a third for quality. But if you want to knock out something, you know, a little bit closer, go for your whiskey base. Knock yourself out a nice whiskey, nice grain whiskey, and go from there. Yes, you're increasing your costs, but realistically, $8 for a bottle, you're only really knocking it up to, you know, 25 to 30 bucks for a bottle, so it's still well under half price what you're paying the shop, and that's fairly close to the real deal. And as I said, again, if I cut that back a little bit and fine tune the actual levels of the sugar and the essence, I think we get fairly close. I mean, obviously, if you want the real deal and you don't want anyone to tell the difference between the Drambuie you're serving and the real Drambuie, buy fucking real Drambuie. But there's nothing wrong with those. Nothing wrong at all. Overall, I mean, I'm not a massive essence fan. Only simply because I think if you're going to make it, you need to make it properly. But this sort of thing is difficult to do from scratch properly. It's very hard to get a good recipe. And the process is difficult. So for the home brewer, it's much easier. Knock out a neutral and flavour this up. So if you do like a bit of Drambuie, I mean, if you're making your own stuff, then this is nice to have in the collection. Sit back and have a suck on a nice cold night on some ice around a nice fire, just for something a little bit different, you know, without the intensity of your normal spirits. Have a go for it. Get into it. That's good stuff. So that's me, Little John, leading into my weekend. That's the whiskey jar. Drambuie, at home, do it yourself, get into it, it's good stuff. So, till I see you again, the whiskey in the whiskey jar, and we're mucking around with some sort of spirits. Bottoms up.